Greetings and welcome to the Inner Den. This is such a fabulous new space we got here, and we have April Kaiser joining as our very first guest. April and I met a couple of years ago, and she is one of the co-authors in the Shamanic Leadership book that we wrote a little while ago, and a horse lover friend and shamanic Jaguar mama. And I'm so excited that she's here today and gets to be our first guest. So, April, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hey, thank you very much for having me. I'm very grateful for all you ladies for letting me come into your space. I love it very much. Like you mentioned, we've known each other now. We're close to 4 years, actually, if
I
we
think so,
were
yeah.
to get into it. Yeah, so that's cool. And I just really appreciate most of you. At least I've been able to experience some physical sisterhood there over a length of time with you and Christina. So that was really special to be invited here online and not just have the online relationship, but deeper than that. So thanks for having me. Yeah.
Happy,
So
happy to have you. Happy to have you. And when we all met last week, we were talking about trains. I can't even really remember. It's been such a whirlwind. I'm still in Saskatchewan with my parents. And so I'm going to let Michonne and Christina start so I can sink in and see where everybody else is. It's not usual for me to be out of touch offline. I've really been present this week. And so I haven't even really touched base with anybody. So who would like to start?
I'm happy to start.
Excellent.
I'm going to keep my check-in kind of focused on what I guess I already had in mind, which was related to first attention topics. So if I'm jumping ahead, then you
Go
just let
ahead.
me know.
Let's
We can
dive.
kind of sidetrack it back to why I'm going to mention these things. But
Yes.
so I've had 13 and a half inches of rain here since Monday night. I have a dry creek bed that runs through my property. When it storms, it does run occasionally. But today the water was over the road. There's just been some basic things to attend to that are very human related and just basic needs. Are you taking care of all the things that you need to take care of so that you're safe? Are you taking responsibility for your own safety? Those types of things. And then even previous running into that, which happened Monday during the weekend and things, it was really related to some basic chores around here that are related to road repairs and supporting those guys in those efforts. So it's been very centered on just basic principles of living in life this week.
Wow. I had no idea that was going on over there, girl.
Yeah, it's wild.
It is wild. And how did it all go? Are you doing okay?
Oh yeah, I'm good. It's nice to hear the creek flowing and water flowing outside, which isn't typical, and I really love and appreciate that. I wish it did run on the regular full time, not of course the way it's running
A
currently.
little bit more cleaner would be nice.
Yeah. But other than that, we're expecting another round tonight, so that's the only
Wow.
other item. And last night was that was the other thing. So I had the Mintote last weekend.
Yes. Yeah,
So
yes.
I totally forgot to ask, number one, if anybody felt like they were pulled in there on Saturday night or had any frog experiences, or I know you had a spider one, so I already know that. But we actually had someone pull something out of it was potential kind of going into the dream ceremony, and then frogs appeared the next day at the location, and she drove away in a new car. It was wonderful, and It was super sweet and very gentle. But interestingly enough, I also realized that we may have had more people there than I actually thought. I had done a reel, and it had gotten quite a bit of plays with no traction on my website or the event or anything. And I had this moment the next morning that was like, oh my gosh, were all those people tapped in? Because at one point I just felt like there was a lot of people there that I weren't really part of the inner circle, if that makes
Right.
sense.
Yeah.
And I hadn't been like conscious of it. So that was very interesting. Yeah.
That's
So
wild.
it's been very fun. That
Very
part has.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So did that feel like it was one of the bigger circles that you've held?
It was only me and one other person that was actually there.
But energetically, you could feel.
Yeah, but not really as consciously as I would have liked to had held that, because it didn't dawn on me until the next day, or at least coming out of the matote, that I think it had occurred. And during the night there was the spider kind of feeling, and both of us felt it, and we had talked about it feeling like there was bouncing on the web, but it was way more than one person bouncing on the web. And so yeah, it
I was
was.
bouncing on the web for sure.
Yes.
For sure.
I know.
For sure.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. That's amazing. And here's to more growth, right?
Yes. Absolutely.
Awesome. Awesome. Christina.
I don't know if I experienced any frogs on Saturday night, but I kind of like frogs. I think they're kind of cute. And that is my favorite French word is frog. So the French word for frog is grenouille. That's my very favorite French word, which, yeah. So, yeah, I was thinking about that. And then I was thinking last week too about so my second favorite word was incredible. It's incroyable. So I was putting together grenouille incroyable. So an incredible frog. I
Can
know
you
that
say
sounds
it again?
ridiculous.
Say it again and say it slower.
Un grenouille incroyable.
Wow. Okay.
So that's completely, not really completely unrelated, but definitely a bit of a tangent.
Yes.
So, yeah, I think my week has also it's been focused on really having to boil down what do I really need to do? Because I'm really feeling a crunch in terms of time and a lot to do. As most people know, that I was on a medical leave from work for 2 months and then came back. And last week, I only worked a day and a half. So, a day and a half last week, and my registration for one of my programs opens. We're doing internal this week. Next week, I'm off. And then the week after that, it has to be live on the website. Yeah, it's really been an exercise in, okay, what's the most efficient way to do this? How can I simplify this? And how can I get it all done without violating my own boundaries? That has definitely been my focus. I kind of feel like that at home a little bit too. I'm still lacking strength and trying to weed whack out in the backyard. And so, anyway, I've only been able to do a little bit at a time because I don't have a lot of arm strength in my right arm right now. But I think I may have come up with an ingenious way to do it. So we'll see how that goes.
You are ingenious. So I'm
Yeah.
sure it will be fabulous. That's awesome. That's awesome. I had left you guys last week. I was coming through Canmore and I spent the night at my son's house and then drove out to Saskatchewan. And that's where I still am. And it's been over a year since I've seen my parents, and they lived in Alberta then. So this is a new house, new space, organizing all the things. And there's really something to be said for roots, that space. And so going back to my dad's hometown, which is not where we are, it's another 2.5 hours, but that's where his brother lives. And I haven't been there in 35 years. And it was like stepping back into time. And wow, what a perspective shift and remembrance. It's funny when you get on that land, when you played on as a kid, and talk about being able to reconnect with that inner child space. And my aunt and uncle have lived in the same house for 40 years. And the life that I've lived in the last 15 years, I'm like, I can't even remember how many houses I've been in and how many provinces and countries that I've lived in. And he's the oldest in the family, my dad's family, and he's been in the same space for 40 years. It was just so interesting to sit in that grounded, solid, structured energy. Hence why I'm still here. Man, has it been amazing and heart filling. And yeah, so I'm still here. I am going to leave tomorrow because, of course, Christina and I are off to our retreat that starts Saturday, and we've got people coming in Friday, and today's Wednesday. So it's time to go on to the next adventure here. But I have not felt this solid in a very long time. So this trip has been fantastic. It's been great. So that's where I'm at right now and what I've experienced. And also, too, hands in the dirt. 6 hours of gardening, it's 35 degrees here. I'm not sure what that is in Fahrenheit, Christina, over 100. I don't know if you can.
Not that bad, but it's close.
Am I close? Yeah, and in the prairies, because Saskatchewan's all farmland. So the thunderstorms, like we're in a bowl, and the thunder just purrs. It like usually there's a thunder and then a lightning. This rolls, and so to actually get to experience that rolling thunder and then the sheet lightning that lights up the sky, like I have seen some amazing natural events that I haven't got to experience since I was a kid. It's normal here, but I haven't been here in a very long time. So, yeah, it's been great. And I am excited for April to share where she is in nature and what they're doing out there and Mama on the land.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that sounds beautiful. I'm glad you're in that space. What a great shift into your retreat. So good luck with that. Yeah. Yeah, I've had a beautiful week. The weather, I'm in Northern California and deep in the redwoods, basically. So you all have your trees there, but I'm actually in a cabin in the woods.
Yes.
And yeah, making this happen. I've been working as a shamanic practitioner for the last 10 years. My husband and I have had a clinic in Southeast Oregon where we served the community to the deepest, and have recently moved to this remote area where I've been able to shift a lot of my healing work online, and have been really devoted and deep into that and a specific project this last few months, and have used real time management to pull it off because I have children and animals, and we are managing a ranch, and we have a very busy, unscheduled life, shall you say. And so to be able to kind of manage the time and still work on a project that for me is a soul contract is really been just, you could see the smile on my face. I've been so happy to pull this off. And it's an online program that has really taken the last 35 years of my healing and created a roadmap for those who are coming out of high control religion and the sorts and need a path, a non-denominational path. And so I have been able to take the Toltec wisdom along with Christ consciousness and some of the other things that we all embody, and be able to put it into this program. And it's going to be launched next month. And so I am having a blast with not only creating it, but reliving my healing journey, and seeing it and feeling it the second time around is quite the experience. It reminds me of writing for the book that you were lead author with there, and the words out getting out there is one thing, but the journey to get them out there is another. And this is just another beautiful one. And yeah, and so I did the same thing. I had revisited the attachments, the 5 levels of attachments through the journey too, and reviewing them, I fell into the same space where I was like, wow, I did this. And when I read that book, it was read in the sequence should have, is years now, whenever it came, right? And I attained everything and I embodied it. but it's like it was so much, my ascension, and it was just so much. And so I embodied it and I did it. But reviewing it this time was made it like, wow, this is an actual map. And I missed that the first time around. So if I had any advice to anyone with the attachments this round is, yeah, look, open the book and see it as, or take all 5 and see that map that they have lined out and how one connects with the other and how you can work between them and back and forth on their illustrations there. So yeah, I've kind of had a really fun week. Like the healer keeps healing the healer themselves, and it's a great path. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a perfect segue into Jaguar Medicine, because in how I perceive it is that the Jaguar Medicine is the first attention and is where we start, and really digging into those subconscious patterns. And Miguel would say every time you open the 4 agreements, it presents new material for you. So what you're saying, April, is right on track. Every time you open the book, something else will speak to you because you're now at a different level of awareness.
That's right. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
I think the biggest thing that stood out with me on this, and then we can move on because it's a great kickoff. But what I have highlighted out of everything I just reviewed for myself walking away was to remember, and also for that client or friend that comes and you have that one sentence of advice to give them. And then the journey is up to them to research further or ask more. But I loved it. Said that it was talking about the understanding of the authentic self and the attachments, and as you're speaking of the medicine, but it said that without this authentic understanding, we are narrowing the possibilities of our life by our own free will. And so there was only one sentence, but when I read it, I went back 20 years and I was like, oops. How many people realize that what they're doing by being too attached, basically, or not being able to disengage from something, and how that is limiting their free wills, which limits their possibilities, which limits the manifestations that we also work with. So yeah, I just had such a great takeaway and love that we're on the subject. Yeah.
Yeah. Did anything come up for you guys?
I think just the same stuff that I was already reflecting on my week, with having to really boil things down to what's simple, and that does mean detaching, right? You're pulling back, you're detaching, and okay, when you can look at it from that perspective, a different perspective, then it presents differently and you can make different choices.
I really love the dreaming practices with the Toltec tradition. And we talked about that with Mashan. She's living it, doing it. There's pieces for me that as I'm digging deeper into that medicine, I've picked up a lot of the Carlos Castaneda books on dreaming and gone in a little bit deeper with that medicine, because there are a lot of Toltec teachers, a lot. So in our tiny little circle, there has been a few that have been the main point of focus as we've started learning. But I'm trying to expand that and see what else is out there.
Yeah. Speaking of which, there's actually a couple of free audio books on Spotify, Toltec books on Spotify that aren't from our normal crew.
Oh, I would love to get that information.
Yeah.
For sure. Who's hooked your attention?
Me personally?
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say between the Ruiz family and Heather Ash, I have not ventured much outside of that in the Toltec realm. That being said, I have spent great deal of time with the Carlos Castaneda books, but partially because of apprenticeship work that where you didn't have to, of course, you didn't have to read the assignment, but I was one of those students, so that's why I have that. And even coming into here today, one of the things that I read as a refresher was first attention stuff from Carlos Castaneda, not from the Ruiz side of it. And just when you were mentioning the dreaming too, again, it came in for like the 5 levels of attachment, like that's great. And it's like, for me, that's a deeper path down, or a deeper level down the stalking path.
Right.
With the first attention being really your basic animal instincts kind of thing. And then when you were talking about the dreaming, I'm like, that is a wonderful way to start to pull people out of first attention. And I just, speaking from my own experience and remembering how pissed off and annoyed I was by the whole freaking inconvenience of this mitote experience, that it was very powerful in sending me down the path of stalking and awareness.
Yeah.
And one of the things I said last week during our dreaming ceremony, and I think I might have mentioned it last week in our call, but then again on Saturday, is really being ready to claim a label of dreamer versus just stalker. Because I would have told you at the beginning that I was not a dreamer. I was only ever going to be a stalker, and I didn't have the capacity to be a dreamer. And now I'm on the flip side going, I'm done stalking, please. It's time to just dream, which was very nice at the dreaming ceremony this weekend, because the person that was there had the flip experience. They were the dreamer. Now they felt like they were the stalker. So it was wonderful little flip.
Yeah. How do you, for yourself, define what a stalker is and what a dreamer is?
So the stalking piece, I feel, is for me very easy to explain. Instead of stalking a person or being that girlfriend that stalks their boyfriend, you're really stalking yourself, or you're stalking your shadow. You're very curious and wanting to know why you do the things that you do. Like, why do I do that? And why have I always done that in this situation? Do I want to change it? And bringing more of that awareness in. Whereas the dreamer piece, I feel, is a very big piece, and I say piece, of manifestation. And I hesitate to even use the word manifestation because it's so cliche these days, and everyone thinks you can just dream or think it into reality. And that's not what I'm stating at all. Like I said, it's one piece of that. And the other part of that is being able to recognize that you are a dream master. You dream in the waking and you dream in the sleeping. You have creative control over what you're dreaming. Anyone who tells you different is trying to keep you trapped. And is it hard as F sometimes to change your dream or to pull stuff through the veil that you really want in this timeline or this reality? Yes. I am not saying this is an easy path or easy thing to do. But yeah, the dreamer part is just being able not necessarily stalk, but to envision a different path, to explore a different perception. Yeah. All of those things. Yeah.
Yeah. Christine, is there any addition to those definitions that come up for you?
I think that Michonne did a great job defining them. Yeah. I don't know that I have much to add to that.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
Yeah, the stalking made me think, the way that she described it, it made me think of the parallel in this 3D world with therapy and stuff like that, and cognitive behavioral therapy, and really examining your behaviors and using that as a way to change them. So I really like when you can see those parallels between this world and the world that we're in every day.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do agree with Michonne about bringing the word manifestation into the conversation. It's touchy, right? Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And
Especially in anybody who might be listening to this who's not in the woo-woo field, they hear the word manifestation and they're like, off.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And is there a space? Because you said that you identified as this and then switched, and then the other person switched. This is just coming fresh. So I'm like integrating what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I'm is there also a space, like we talk about the divine feminine and masculine and the polarity endings, and that it's to come into balance? Is that, could we look at that kind of as stalking and dreaming and being able to be masters of both as well?
Yes, but I do not agree with polarity ending at all, and I would not support polarity ending. And that's all I'll add there.
Okay. How would you describe it instead?
I don't have an objection to saying it's masculine or feminine and then having the balance piece. That's not my objection. I just am stating the polarity is absolutely still needed. You cannot, at least again, at least with my current attention and attachments, I don't know how to hold stalker and dreamer simultaneously in the same moment, if that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely. No, I
Like,
agree. You have to make a choice for sure.
yeah.
But what about seeing them on a spectrum instead? So it's not so much one or the other, but like, where are you between stalker and dreamer? Because how often are
Oh,
you
yeah.
fully 100% here, 100% there?
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I would agree with that. I don't know if I've answered your question.
Yeah. It's just because it's just new information, right? And because I would agree with your definitions. And we were taught a little bit of each and then decided which path to go, right? Which one hooked your attention first, right? And for us, it was stalking.
Yeah.
And April, have you had a chance to play with those two, like the stalking and the dreaming? Because we've never talked
Yeah.
about this. We don't know what your background is with that stuff.
Yeah, no, I work with Jaguar Medicine. So yeah, I'm keeping up plenty and am tapped into exactly what you're talking about. I love your descriptions very much. And then I don't know, sitting here listening, and my mind is just actually bouncing back to some of the stuff I had brought up earlier. Like, why did I even say that? And then I'm like, oh yeah, because it is connected.
Yep.
Yeah, and the stalker part specifically, because when I was talking earlier about finding our authentic self, and then Christina, we were talking about the engaging and disengaging, and I got that metaphor today of that action within ourselves is a good metaphor, is to see that flower like blooming and closing up and blooming and closing up according to its environment and what it's like soaking in or ready to let go or bloom out. And stalking, to me, not only there's so many other things that we're working with, don't get me wrong, but with what I had tapped into already, stalking our own authenticity and the things around that, and observing and really paying attention to it. Because I know, like, when we're younger with our own authenticity, do we really know what that is? Because people have been telling me my whole life that I was such a good this or I was such a good that. And it took me a long time to realize that just because they thought I was so good at it, that didn't mean I thought I was that good at it, or that I actually wanted to be doing that in life. And so I could drop it or reshape it. And so stalking those actions and finding where your true authentic self is, and there's no graduation, because they're like, just, you're constantly doing that. But what that's doing is filtering that stalking. So as long as you don't get caught up and attached and don't disengage, as long as you can sift out and take with you all of the things that you have centered on, okay, this is the authenticity I want to move forward with. And then it moves into our choices in life. And so that's a great way to stalk, is to find those things, because when you find your higher self, so to say, then we're able to say to our choices in life, this is how I'm showing up. And these are the choices I'm making because of my authenticity. I don't want this job because of this, or I don't want an alarm clock in life because of this, right? All of these things. And to me, I think that the stalking is there, but I'm also reminded Artahamus, the story of Artahamus and her If anyone knows it, the goddess that hunted the deer, and ultimately at the end of the story, she was hunting herself. And it was what we're talking about, being careful not to be attached and stalk ourselves too much and get stuck in what I would call a cesspool there, or whatever, and to be able to sift that out and move on. And then you can do the same thing in the next phases, all the way into the dreaming worlds. So yeah, there's all kinds of words that we can use to match the person's personality, creation, and so forth. But ultimately, is that dreaming state of the reason I'm even doing anything I'm doing, really. What's my dream for myself, my family, and the dream of the planet, ultimately, right? That's how I am, that's my bubble from the last 10 minutes. Thank you. It was beautiful.
That's great. And you brought up a really good point, because it's something that I experienced in our apprenticeship that Michonne and I were in. There was such a clear path to how to stalk. There was some great frameworks for how to stalk and how to learn how to do that. And then you get the workaholics and the athletes and the ones that have that. I started calling myself a stalkaholic, because I did feel as we went into it, it was, I was stalking too much. What you were calling the cesspool, I called myself a stalkaholic, and that I needed to be in recovery from that. Like Michonne said, I'm not stalking anymore. We've been looking for joy. We're calling it stalking joy, but
Yeah.
I think maybe why we're calling it stalking joy is because that's the transition into the dream. Because at some point, there comes a time where you just have to, it's okay to love yourself exactly how you are right now in this moment. And yes, we all know that we're here to learn and there's more to do, but can't we pause and just love ourselves and stop the
Yes.
stalking?
Yes.
You're on silent, Michonne.
And I'm sure it was beautiful. You're on mute.
I was coughing earlier.
Yeah.
I had to put myself on mute. No, what you were saying there, just on that same note about self love, is again, when the stockaholic comes in, whether you know it or not, there's an underlying assumption that you're still broken
Right.
and you need repair.
That's a
Right.
great point.
And that was part of my embodiment, was going, oh, I'm not necessarily convinced this is good for me anymore.
Yeah.
And that takes us into the next Toltec philosophy about the fifth agreement: be skeptical and learn to listen, especially to yourself. And coming through that and going, oh, this is not a healthy space anymore. It's actually adversely affecting my mental health now. And then all of those programs that you spent 10 years solidifying, then the process of unlearning the medicine, the spiral path comes up again, right? And in that, I'm just coming out of that process. This last year and a half has been that, the unlearning of the teachings. And in my experience, it needed even more self-love. Every time you go around, the deeper self-love, because it was like, man, I did it to myself again. But now you've got more tools, because you practice them to stockaholic level. So now you got them dialed in. But then when it comes around that, oh yeah, now we're getting rigid again, because we are who we are, and the same triggers are going to keep coming up, and you have to baby bite them. Sometimes you take a great big huge bite of the elephant, and then you need to sit back and let that digest. And there's a digestion period and the integration. And for those who are racehorses, sometimes the integration is the hardest part, because that means you just have to sit and let the wound heal. Stop picking the scab. Yeah. And sometimes it takes a week, and sometimes it takes a year, and sometimes it takes a decade. You don't know.
Yeah. And if you keep picking your scab, you're going to prolong it.
And
Yes.
cause.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. And so there's balance in everything, even in your healing. It's cyclical, just like Mother Nature. Healing still has to be cyclical. It still has to have the 4 seasons. And that piece right there, I think, has been the most powerful medicine. Every time I come up to a block, the tool of what season am I in?
When you were talking, what came up for me is we're always using the word healing. And it came back to what Michonne said that, again, when you're saying healing, you're implying that you're broken.
Right.
And instead, if we look at it as just forward growth, right? Forward movement, growth, it's just something, a different perspective.
Yeah. Yeah. What did you say, Michonne? There, I missed that.
I said thriving.
Yeah.
I'm gonna see
Yeah.
if I can't replace every time I say healing with thriving.
You know what? I think you just created the experiment for this week. Maybe that's the experiment. We're trying to undo. We're in the process of unlearning. I love the word thriving. That's a powerful word. So we were stalking joy. Maybe this week for our homework, we see where else we can thrive. What would that even look like? What does that word even mean? What does it bring up in your body when we say the word thriving? Like, what does that do to your body when you hear that we're gonna stalk some thriving this week?
It's
Sounds
like
great.
expansion.
Right.
It definitely brings up a completely different feeling than healing.
Seriously. No, I love that. I think that's a great idea. And I can really feel this week is really the undoings, the unlearnings, and yeah, and I think too, just because of the space I've been in this week and the deep roots that I got to experience this week, thriving's excellent. I love that. I love that. So, any last little words that we want to leave people with?
I don't know if
I
it's
love,
words. Go ahead.
yeah, I
Kate.
love the thrive. Thank you for leaving us with that. Yeah, I love the thrive because thrive is happiness, and it comes physically, emotionally, everything all there. And it comes from a core to that, like Machine said, it's not quite as I need a nap. Thrive sounds more of a party, so I'm up for it. Thank you. Yeah, and thanks for
Yeah.
having me.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was
Yeah, it's
awesome
been
having you.
beautiful.
Thank you so much. And let's do some thriving for this next week. Thank you all for being here, and we'll see you all
Bye.
next week.
Thank you.